mother of the child by the devil. As the decade of the 70s progressed, violence, sadism, brutality, slasher films, victims of possession, and graphic blood and gore tales became more frequent. Deliverance, 1972, included graphic mutilation and sodomy by crazed hillbillies upon an unsuspecting group of wilderness adventurers. Influential and acclaimed independent sleepers horror classic Halloween 1978, with its creepy soundtrack, featured a knife-wielding killer of teenage babysitters. This popular serial killer slasher film inspired numerous sequels, 7 more by the year 2002. Evil spirits possessed the body of a 12-year-old girl in the box office success The Exorcist, 1973. Its horrific visuals terrified audiences. The blockbuster about the attempted exorcism of a demonic entity by 2 priests inspired sequels of its own. Exorcist II, The Heretic, 1977, Exorcist III, 1990, and Exorcist, The Beginning, 2004. Other devil-possessed movies in the late 70s and early 80s included a medieval horror, 1979, about a devilish haunted house, and Poltergeist, a story about menacing spirits that kidnap a young child by sucking her into a TV set and taking her into a parallel dimension. Poltergeist encouraged a sequel in 1986 and another in 1988. The Omen, 1976, about a young adopted son named Damien, Satan's son, also inspired 2 sequels, Damien, Omen 2, 1978, and The Final Conflict, 1981. There was also a made-for-cable TV sequel titled Omen 4, The Awakening, in 1991. Other devil films included The Devil's Advocate, 1997, and End of Days, 1999, with the lead character as the seductive Devil Lord. Horror films in the mid-1990s surprised the industry with their phenomenal success. The Craft, 1996, about schoolgirls dabbing in witchcraft and black magic, and the horror thriller Scream, 1996, are 2 examples. The end of the century's expressionistic docu-horror, The Blair Witch Project, 1999, was filmed using a handheld camera, which enhanced its suggestive, understated horror. Dix T horror films, 1996 to 2005. The occult and violence in electric games. Children have long played elaborate, imaginative games with dolls, toy soldiers, forts, tanks, boats, and planes, all without causing harm. But times have changed. Violence and horror themes have taken center stage in electronic video games, along with fantasy and role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons, Vampire, Werewolf, and GURPS. The same goes for card games like Magic, The Gathering, Battletech, and Star Wars, as well as computer stimulation and visual reality games. The largest provider of violent and occult games is Wizards of the Coast, producers of Magic the Gathering, the publisher of Dungeons and Dragons. Magic the Gathering, an occult card trading game, was released in late 1993 and sold out its first 10 million cards in 6 weeks, instead of the projected 6 months. More than 500 million cards have been sold, and there are more than 5 million game enthusiasts in 52 countries, surprising both Monopoly and Trivial Pursuit. Most of such games take place in a setting where the distinctions between good and evil are blurred. This promotes the lie that there is white magic, which can be good, and black magic, which is bad. A player doesn't merely observe the occult aspects of the game, he is immersed in the environment and must participate in the occult to survive. Some games are filled with violence, destruction, murder, human sacrifice, spells, demons, and psychic powers. Nearly all the games present a view that is hostile to a Christian worldview, incorporating themes which either mock or misinterpret biblical truths. Virtual reality, computer games, where participants perceive that they are actually involved in the action, are particularly sinister because players directly participate in witchcraft and the occult and are immersed in art activities with familiar spirits. Wow. Doom by ID Software is considered by many to be the greatest game of all time. The first episode, Knee Deep in the Dead, features pentagrams, a Wicca or witchcraft symbol. Toward the end of the episode, the hero of the game exists by stepping onto a platform with the symbol of a goat behind a pentagram. Baphomet. An inverted cross, a symbol of Satanism, can be found near the beginning of the second episode, The Shores of Hell. The third episode, called Inferno, features more pentagrams. Teleporters, which move the player to different areas, also utilize pentagrams. When exiting the shareware version of the game, there is a screen with more information about what is in the full registered version. In part, it states, sure don't order Doom. Sit back with your milk and cookies and let the universe go to hell. Don't face the onslaught of demons and specters that await you on the shores of hell. Avoid the terrifying confrontations with Kiko demons and lost souls that infest Inferno. Or act like a man, slap a few shells into your shotgun and let's kick some demonic butt. Order the entire Doom trilogy now. After all, you'll probably end up in hell eventually. Shouldn't you know your way around before you make the extended visit? In Afterlife, by LucasArts, players develop a haven and hell that are far different from the heaven and hell of the Bible. The plot line is that the player is a local deity who must take care of heaven and hell. What each soul believes determines where they will go. For example, if one believes in a religion that involves reincarnation, they will return to earth with another life at a later time. Quake, another game by ID Software, is much like Doom, but more technologically advanced. While uploading Quake or Doom, there is a dictator, is a small picture of a disc. But in Quake, it is a pentagram. One of the power-ups in Quake is called the Pentagram of Protection. It makes one's character invisible for a brief period of time. While the power-up is in effect, the character's armor ratings turns to 666, and the character gradually begins to look more sinister. In the controversial Duke Nukem 3D, created by 3D Realms, the third level in the first episode is called Death Row. In an area near the beginning of the level, a prison facility, there is a chaplain and a cross on the wall. In Duke Nukem, the game's morally decayed hero shows a grave portrait in front of the cross it will invert. In Warcraft 2, by Bizarre Entertainment, one of the buildings, the Altar of Storms, has a pentagram on it. In Diablo, another game made by Bizarre pentagrams can be found rather easily in the menus of the game. Andrew, computer games used as a tool to praise Satan. The games mentioned above are just a small sampling of what is being created and marketed to desensitize people to occult symbols and practices, witchcraft, and Satanism. Countless numbers of children and adults are mesmerized by and enslaved to these games, including many professing Christians and their children. Desensitization of children by the media. Children are being continually bombarded with occult symbols, witchcraft, and Eastern religion by the electronic media. Many television commercials reflect reincarnation, yoga, and subliminal New Age beliefs. The world-famous Disney Productions is one of the world's foremost promoters of the occult and Satanism in its cartoons, videos, movies, and theme parks. Most cartoon shows abound in occult themes, which are actually designed to indoctrinate young children, preparing them to reject true Christianity. Some contain overt messages such as Jim Henson's Dark Crystal, Thundercats, She-Ra, He-Man, and Master of the Universe. Others, like Ted Turner's Captain Planet and the Planeteers, are more subtle as they promote the New Age version of ecology. Popular movies such as Field of Dreams, E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Star Wars trilogy, Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Temple of Doom, although often beautifully entertaining, are laced with the New Age messages of benevolence, space creatures, positive psychic powers, and the blending of evil and good characters and themes. The sheer volume and the escalating intensity of these programs is a culture of diminishing biblical values, clouding children's minds so that they can no longer discern between the real and unreal, or even between right and wrong. Branch C, The Media or the Medium, 2000. In addition, public and school libraries, as well as bookstores, are full of witchcraft books for children. And whole sections of these libraries are devoted to New Age books. Occult influences in schools. The public school system has become an important vehicle for promoting the anti-Mashiach, the anti-God, anti-Christ, humanist, and occult agenda of the New World Order. The occult on children's minds under the guise of education is reflected in this brief sampling of actual events that have occurred in various public schools across America. The Witches by Ronald Dahl was read aloud to second graders during regular school hours. The book starts out with the caveat, "This is not a fairy tale. This is about real witches." The book goes on to say that real witches dress in ordinary clothes, look like ordinary women, hate children, and get their pleasure from doing away with one child. Human sacrifice, a weekend, 52 a year. The parents learned about this horrendous instruction only when their second graders had nightmares. Seventh graders have for years been assigned to read the Guide to the London Dungeon, a British museum where tourists can see frightening displays of wax figures demonstrating hideous torture practices that were used in bygone eras. Man, it's deep. The guide itself states that the exhibition is not recommended to unaccompanied or young children. The class assignment instructed the children to write a paragraph describing their own form of torture. One child announced that he was going home to try this kind of torture on his little brother. Wow. In another school, 11-year-olds were given a book called The Headless Cupid, which is about a girl practicing to be a witch. The book graphically describes the First Amendment protected religion of witchcraft, occult practices, spirit guides, seances, and initial rites. A class of 6th graders was shown the R-rated movie Dawn of the Dead as a reward after they had finished the test. Parents were not informed in advance, and when they finally reviewed the film, were shocked to find that it contained cannibalism, brutally violent scenes, and was steeped in satanic and occult related themes. In still another American school, the film The Sword and the Sorcerer was shown to 6th graders. Parents complained because it shows a witch calling up the devil from the pit of hell, while the walls appear to be coming alive with humans who are bleeding and screaming in agony. The witch worships the devil by licking and kissing him, calling him my God and my master. The NCSCIA Focus Pre-Halloween 2001 edition. What about the popularity of the Harry Potter books and films? Should they be considered serious occult influences upon children and adults who read them? Or are they just a source of creative, harmless entertainment? Some leading evangelical leaders have given them their stamp of approval. Yet, many other Christian pastors and leaders are shouting in alarm, and for good reason. The level of occult information contained in the Harry Potter series reveals that the author has a highly sophisticated knowledge of the occult, which she is passing on to her readers. The following is a personal testimony from a former witch that has been edited. Harry Potter. What does God have to say? By David Meyer. I am writing this urgent message because I was once a witch. I live by the stars as astrologer and numerologist, casting horoscopes and spells. I lived in a mysterious and shadowy realm of the occult. By means of spells and magic, I was able to invoke the powers of the controlling unknown and fly upon the night winds, transcending the astral plane. Halloween was my favorite time of the year, and I was intrigued and observed in the realm of Wicca witchcraft. All of this was happening in the decade of the 1960s when witchcraft was just starting to come out on the broom closet. Witchcraft was just starting to come out of the broom closet. It was during that decade of the 1960s, in the late 1966, that a woman named J.K. Rowling was born. This is the woman who has captivated the world in this year of 2000 with 4 books known as the Harry Potter series. Note, as of this publication, Rowling has written 2 more and is finishing a 3rd to bring the total to 7. These books are orientational and instructional manuals of witchcraft, woven into the format of entertainment. These 4 books by J.K. Rowling teach witchcraft. I know this because I was once very much a part of that world. Witchcraft was very different in the 1960s. There were a lot fewer witches, and the craft was far more secretive. At the end of that spiritually troubled decade, I was miraculously saved by the power of Jesus Christ and his saving blood. I was also delivered from every evil spirit that lived in me and was set free. However, as I began to attend fundamental Christian churches, I realized that even there, witchcraft had left its mark in the churches. Pagan holidays and Sabbats were celebrated as Christian holidays. As time went on, I watched the so-called Christian churches compromising and unifying. I also watched with amazement as teachings from Eastern religions and New Age doctrines began to captivate congregations. It was a satanic setup, bringing forth a one-world religion with a cleverly concealed element of occultism interwoven in its teachings. In order to succeed in bringing witchcraft to the world and thus complete satanic control, an entire generation would have to be induced and taught to think like witches, talk like witches, dress like witches, and act like witches. The occult songs of the 1960s launched the Luciferian project of capturing the minds of an entire generation. As a former witch, I can speak with authority when I say that I have examined the works of Rowlands, and that the Harry Potter books are training manuals for the occult. Untold millions of young people are being taught to think, speak, dress, and act like witches by filling their heads with the contents of these books. Children are so obsessed with the Harry Potter books that they have left television and video games to read these witchcraft manuals. First book of the series, entitled Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, finds the orphan Harry Potter embarking into a new realm when he is taken to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. At this occult school, Harry Potter learns how to obtain and use witchcraft equipment. Harry also learns a new vocabulary, including words such as Azkaban and sex and whatever these words are, all of which are names of real devils or demons. These are not characters of fiction. How serious is this? By reading these materials, many millions of young people are learning how to work with demon spirits. They are getting to know them by name. Vast numbers of children professing to be Christians are also filling their hearts and minds, while willingly ignorant parents look the other way. The titles of the books should be warning enough to make us realize how satanic and anti-Christ these books truly are. The aforementioned title of the first book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, 1998, was a real giveaway. The second book, called The Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, 1999, while the third book was entitled Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, 1999. The fourth book is the series is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, 2000. Fifth is Harry Potter of the Order of the Phoenix, 2003. And the sixth is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, 2005. With the seventh expected to be released soon. To show the impact and influence of these books on people, especially the younger generation, the total number of books sold worldwide is over 270 million. And they have been translated into 62 languages. As a real witch, I learned about the two sides of the force. When real witches have sabbats and espats and meet as a coven, they greet each other by saying, "Blessed be." And when they part, they say, "The force be with you." Both sides of this force are Satan. It is not a good side of the force that overcomes the bad side of the force. but rather it's the blood of Jesus Christ that destroys both supposed sides of the satanic force. High-level witches believe that there are 7 satanic princes and that the 7th, which is assigned to Christians, has no name. We here, because we're looking at Ephesians 6 and 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. This is what they're bringing forth. High-level witches believe that there are 7 satanic princes and that the 7th, which is assigned to Christians, has no name. In Coven meetings, he is called the Nameless One. In the Harry Potter books, there's a character called, whatever that is. The pronunciation guide says of this being, he who must not be named. Same one that they have in the Christian churches. On July 8, 2000 at midnight, bookstores everywhere were stormed by millions of children to obtain the latest and 4th book of the series known as Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. These books were taken into homes everywhere with a real evil spirit following each copy to curse those homes. Now we have learned that the public school system is planning to use the magic of Harry Potter in the classrooms, making the public schools centers of witchcraft training. What does the Most High have to say about such books as the Harry Potter series? In the Bible, in the book of Acts, we read the following in the 19th chapter, verses 18 to 20. And many that believed came and confessed and showed their deeds. Many of them also which used curious arts brought their books together and burned them before all men. And they counted the price of them and found it 50,000 pieces of silver. So mightily grew the word of the Most High and prevailed. As parents, we will answer to the Most High if we allow our children to read witchcraft books. The word of the Most High will prevail mightily in your life only if such things of Satan are destroyed. Maya D. Harry Potter. What does God have to say? So I'm gonna stop right there. But you see, it starts with our children. And that's what they're doing in the schools. That's why we're dealing with high-level demons in high places, brothers and sisters, that we gotta be aware of and know what your children are looking at, and pay attention to what it is that these wicked school systems are putting forth to our children. They're the future. So if you have any questions or comments, you can contact me, Priest Thaahwam, at P.O. Box 20012, Long Beach, California, 90801-3012. Call me at 562-235-1225. Or if you feel that this has been informative to you, you want to give a donation to help the ministry to continue to go forward, you can send it to the P.O. Box, or you can send it to paypal.me/Shield of Wisdom. And with that, I love my brothers and sisters that's paying attention to these last days and these things that's going on. Stay abreast of what's happening. And continue to pray and study. Show yourself approved to the Most High. And I'm out. Shalom.